And here we are on the 24th of February, 2023. And as I said, for Team 1, we've got two amazing teams today doing a completely unique project. They've not caused any fuss whatsoever and got stuck into it with incredible gusto. And I'm incredibly proud of how they put the day together yesterday. We've had Project Team 1 set the bar very high, but we're going to go over to Tony Roy's legacy project team, who are already getting extra bonus points there for massaging my ego. So, Elliot, can I hand it over to you, my friend, and good luck to Team 2.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. So, just like to say thank you for the warm welcome. And we are Tony Roy's legacy project team. So I'll just give you a little rundown as to who's going to be taking this presentation. So we've got myself, the Master Chief Executive Director, with Kerim as Deputy. Byron is taking control of Site Director Executive. Yusuf working underneath Tony as the HSE Specialist, and Clive, the Beacon of Wisdom and Chief Advisor. Last but not least, we have Bob, the trusty PowerPoint clerk. So let me just make you aware that assumptions have been made on this slide. So moving over to Bob, he will kick off with the location of the cabins.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So I think the itinerary of the line project is right now known to all of you. I want to stress out that this is really just the initial setup. We're not planning, we're not describing the setup of the entire project yet, but just how we're going to start it. So on the left image, you see the small village of Gael, which is really going to be our starting point. Mainly because we can use the auto route 55 to import all the supplies that we need. This is about between the west and the middle of the project. Nice thing about starting at this village is that we have access to electricity and water. So this is what we're going to use to supply our officers and our labor cabins. As you can see on this image that is now just appearing, the labor cabin is going to be on a great distance from the actual project to ensure that we're going to work around the clock, obviously. So people who are taking a rest, they can have the actual rest without being disturbed by all the sounds of the project. What you can see now, there's going to be two asphalt roads constructed on the north and on the south of the actual project. I'm going to come back to that a bit later. And as you can also see, one back, the village of Gael has a mosque. There's going to be trips planned for people who are interested in doing so to visit the mosque when they are willing to. Next slide, please. So this is a blueprint of the main hub. This is more like of an initial sketch that we can repeat as much time as needed when the project is growing in size. Some things I would like to stress out is that there's a segregation at all times between vehicles and pedestrians, as can be seen on this image. And what I would like to point out also is that we have over-dimensioned the helideck enormously. Why did we do that? That's just to reduce the risk of sand dust flowing up when the helicopters land or depart. So I think these are the most important safety-related points on how we want to design our hubs. Yes, next slide, please.
And can I just say that we will have a proper architectural drawing coming at a later date. This is just a very brief sort of identification as to how we're going to lay it out, but there will be a more detailed version coming. Next slide.
So as I showed you on the first slide, the cabins are not that close to the work area, just to reduce the noise disturbance. So how we are planning the transport to and from the site, people are they're dressing up in the locker rooms. They wear all the PPEs and make sure they're all ready for departure. And then there's separate buses bringing the people to the actual entrance of the site. Here, there's strong security, and they're going to check for alcohol consumption, general fitness, and your site access IDs. If all of these are approved, then you can enter the site. and then there will be other vans taking you to your actual work location. So this is going to be like military level of efficiency to get people safe to the work areas. Next slide.
Right, we'll hand you over to Clive.
Yeah, I'm looking after site security. As our company, we've decided to go for a local security firm, which we are going to bring on board, which is A1 Fence Arabia. They have 20 years experience of site security and development. They will be undertaking the design, implementation, and all of our security entrance control needs, including detection via CCTV, incorporating face recognition. Entry to the main site and the hub will be through a turnstile system, which will incorporate face recognition on the turnstiles. Contactless face recognition is the most effective solution for access control on construction sites, as ID cards, etc., can easily be misplaced, damaged, or stolen, therefore present opportunities for unauthorized persons to access construction sites. That's why we believe as a company contactless face recognition is the most effective solution for access control. Also, for extra security, we will have armed roaming patrols for extra security around the site. Basically, face recognition works by a biometric software recognition system, uses people's unique characteristics, including their faces, fingerprints, and retinas. Facial recognition uses AI technology to identify people through their individual features, which are scanned and measured. Also, in the event that the system goes down for power failure, we have backup generators. But in the unlikely event that the system does fail, all applicant data can be accessed by a nominated person on site with access to the app via a tablet or smartphone. The app will allow manual checks to take place using personal details to search for the contractor's photograph, which will allow them to identify, to be confirmed, and allow entry or access. And this is an ongoing thing through the site with face recognition by the CCTV, so we will know where everybody is at any one time. Thank you. I'll hand over to my next colleague.
Thank you, Clive. All right, on to the next one. Back to Bob.
So as I've mentioned before, there's going to be an asphalt road constructed both on the north and on the south side of the actual working area. What I would like to point out first is that all the fauna located in these areas, the same goes for the actual project site, is going to be rehabilitated in different areas. What we're going to do is we're going to completely separate all the cars and all the, let's say, personnel from the trucks and the materials. So the route on the north is only going to be used by cars. The route on the south is only going to be used by heavy trucks. So there will be circulation of those two types of vehicles at all times. What you can further see in the sketch that we've made is that there's going to be the main work area, there's going to be car-free roads constructed on which it's absolutely impossible for cars to access. There's going to be people and materials delivery points installed everywhere, so that the people who are working on site do never have to worry about any approaching traffic, whether it be cars or trucks. So that's our broad traffic management plan.
Thank you. Right, so moving on to welfare facilities. So we want to make sure that we're catering for the first 300 workers that we're expected to have on this very initial first stage. So we're going to ensure that we've got prayer facilities, so including all Islamic faiths and any other religions, so it's open to everyone. We're going to have a fully facilitated canteen, which seats up to 400 to accommodate for any visitors, and there will be a separate area for royal and special visitors when they come to visit the site. We will have a fully staffed kitchen, providing cooked meals for all employees and staff. And to give the extra options, we'll also have vending machines in the shop within the welfare facility, just to offer, or just to ensure that there's a wide variety of options available. And aside from that, we'll have 10 separate rest and eating rooms, just to give people the option to sort of take themselves away into some smaller groups. And as you can see there, that's what we'll include within each of those smaller facilities. The toilets, we're making sure we've got welfare area for men and women within the welfare area, and then also duplicated on site next to the first stage, so people don't have to trek all the way back to the welfare facilities to use the toilets. Also, alongside with that, we'll have water locations readily available, so just to ensure that everyone's hydrated at any one time. So we've got change rooms to accommodate up to 300 people, with lockers for clothing and PPE items. And then also activity areas. So we're going to have a football field, pool, darts rooms, group activity areas, and a cinema as well, just to, again, give that option to the employees, as these activity areas are there to promote teamwork, communication, and just offer general enjoyment to the workers. So this is in order to mitigate the mental health and well-being risks that are increasingly prevalent within the construction industry. So moving over to Youssef, he's going to take you through storage.
Yeah, here we try to ensure that our storage facility are fully secured, both from the staff and the external people coming to the site. So we'll be to minimize the loss of time. So our storage facility will be close to where the work will be carried out, so that all the items in the store will be properly shelved, so that to ensure the maximization of the available storage area. And also we make it to be a real lifetime inventory system, so that we'll be able to know what material will be used and how much is being left, so that adequate reinforcement is being put in place. Also, for the movement of the goods from the store to different work location, we'll be using a specific type of transportation that is essential for that type of load. And also provision of the storekeeper and the management team to ensure that things are being done properly on the store. So the store will be 24/7, 365 CCTV, and the access being monitored in and out for everybody going to the store. And then our booking system is going to be an inventory-like system, whereby all the materials in the store are real-time and has been depleted. All the material in the store, it's going to be an automatic notification to the store management team to know that the materials are running out of stocks. And then for the vehicle around the store area, they will really segregated and a parking lot for different type of machinery, and then all the staff and visitor car park, and the truck and the heavy vehicle movement. So there could be a roundabout around the store area whereby a car can easily turn and maneuver whenever they are picking up items from the store area. And then the traffic management system is going to be the one for the local system, whereby it's being already discussed by my team. And we're going to have a special area for COSH activities. Any hazardous substance on site will be stored in a separate location, away from people and then other staff of the company. However, and we ensure that all the required management of a COSH cabinet, the inventory of the COSH material are already put in place. Next slide, please.
Thank you. Right, so moving over to waste management, it will be Byron taking this one.
Well, thank you, Elliot. With any project, we're going to have waste. What we try and do at Tony Roy Legacy Projects is we try and work with the designers to incorporate that they use standard lengths to reduce cuts and waste, or where they can't use standard lengths, it's pre-cut off-site, so we're not getting that waste material on our sites. We also, part of the thing, to have a reward scheme with our contractors for any ideas they come up with to reduce waste, because obviously the less waste we make, the better we are for the planet. Obviously the waste we will make, we have recycling plant, we will separate it all with mini skips in the work area. These will then go back to the main hub, where obviously there'll be loaded into a vehicle to dispose of. The other thing we would like to do is on the general waste skip is just to have people double check and make sure there's nothing that we're missing, because the idea is to try and recycle as much as we can. There is no excuse for poor housekeeping. Obviously, we'll have a yellow card, red card system. Obviously, site safety, just minimise all trips and falls. Housekeeping is key.
Thank you. So continuing on with the emergency plan.
Emergency plan has multiple steps. Our first step is basically to ensure in the work area, wherever you are, there is in your team or your next team that if you injure yourself, you can alert someone, and within, say, the first 3 minutes, which is a critical time, someone can come to you. There's also going to be regular first aid and fire aid, fire alarm call points. Obviously, fire will be red, green will be for first aid. So obviously they're all GPS connected into our main network. So as soon as they're alerted, we know where that is. We can focus a team there. Also within the main hub, we've got on-site medical centre and a fire station. Just for immediate response, obviously as we will go down the Blooming project, we're getting further away from towns. On top of the site containers, because it's the largest area, we're going to have a helipad with, there's a lift shown. So basically, if you do need to be airlifted out, we can airlift you out to the nearest hospital. Also, we'll be looking at implementing what 3 words, because we found that works very well in Europe and UK. So that if anything else does fail, everyone these days tends to have a phone. That app will then give them an indication of exactly where you are within 1 meter.
Thank you. And can I just say as well, the fire department as well will have specific training for rescue plans, particularly with any sort of plant equipment or machinery. They will be specifically trained so they know exactly how to rescue someone in the event of emergency. Right, so moving on to document control. So again, as you, the client, you've set the standard to align this with UK rules and regulations and standards. We are aligning it with the HSE with functional and concise reports to the following documents. So policies, manuals and procedures. And as you can see there, there's just a few of the other national and international standards we're trying to abide by. So within these, we are going to be following risk assessments and method statements, training, health surveillance, constant monitoring and measurements in the workplace in line with heat and the temperature that the guys are going to be working in, accident injury investigation and internal reporting. So here are a few more of the policies and procedures that we'll be using as instruments to control key activities. So things like hot works, working at height, confined spaces, all these things we're going to be covering within our CDM regulations. Lifting operations as well, as we're moving the cabins in, that's going to be a crucial thing that we're going to be working on as well. And we're going to make sure that all of these letters, communications, they're all going to be shared. So all of these communications, on-site monitoring data, letters, reports, all sort of site drawings, they're all going to be accessible by the contractors, clients, ourselves in the office. Like, we just want that open line of communication between everyone, and it's all going to be on a centralized location such as field view. So we will just have a transparent view as to what's going on, just to minimize any miscommunications that may occur. So moving on to Kerem, he's going to take you through site signage and site rules.
Hello, thank you very much. So our main concern is to make sure that everyone understands the signs and actually can read the signs. So the main step is to go through a process for making them multi-language. And we took a process of the listing the 4 main languages that will need to be on these signs. So here back in the UK, we normally have the 4 main different types of signage highlighted at the top, and at the bottom we put an image of an example what one of the signage would look like with the different types of languages. We also had an idea of adding a hazard board for daily activities. So this will be located on your way out of the compound, on your way to site, and it will just be a board highlighting the different types of activities that will be happening that day, just to give everyone an understanding of what's happening and then the hazards. So just regular signage about. And the other types of signage will be locations. So this is going to be signage around the compound. So your canteens, your change rooms, your toilets. Again, all in multiple languages, so everyone understands. Mandatory PPE signs. So these are signs that will be around the compound. So your green routes. So signs where you don't need to wear PPE. These are your green routes, and there will be signs where, let's say you want to go outside, but there's a traffic marshal where the deliveries come in. There might be a sign to say you need to wear high vis or certain types of PPE in certain areas of the compound. We also thought it was a good idea to add the big sign of HSE, which we have in our UK project, the what you need to know health and safety law sign. So we thought that would be a good idea to add in the compound to remind everyone that we're acting under, you know, UK standards. And same again, access signs, keep clear, no entry around the project. So there's some different types of signage, and then obviously traffic signs. These will mostly be outside. So stuff like your speed limits, your delivery locations, and stuff for when delivery drivers come, they could just abide by the signs, basically. Thank you. Next one. Site rules. So most of the site rules we've implemented back in the UK when we have our projects in the UK. However, we understand that we're not working in the UK, we're going to be working out here. So we took the route of going down and looking at the site rules out here in Saudi and seeing what type of site rules they have, and we can implement them onto our project to bring the balance and obviously bring the respect to the culture. So obviously we understand the days of working. So obviously that's highlighted in item 12. So site working days will be Monday to Thursday. We also implemented, obviously, understand the heat. So obviously site rule number 8, no work shall undertake under the sunlight from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. during the summer. That's, and then the dates. And obviously during Ramadan, as it's obviously a lot of Muslims will be working on our project, obviously limited 6 hours of work shifts a day, because obviously they'll be fasting. Obviously we do understand that there's going to be a lot of low-skilled workers, so we're going to try and implement and push forward stuff like item 24, if in doubt, ask, just to make sure that everyone has feel that they can ask and have a voice, if that makes sense. Because I understand a lot of people that don't really understand what's going on, they tend to not speak, they'll just kind of keep it to themselves. So we kind of don't want that in our workplace. We want everyone to be able to speak to one another. Next slide, please.
All right, so we're moving on to site induction.
Now,
where we'll be touching on further inclusivity.
Sorry, site induction, we wanted to go down a route with, as we understand, there's going to be a lot of low-skilled workers on our project. So we wanted to go down a route where maybe some people, the low-skilled workers, don't really know about, you know, a standard induction. So what we put into a 2-day induction, Mondays and Wednesdays, starting at 7 a.m. So the first day will just be a basic health and safety principle and competency test. So this is basically, we'll go through stuff like, and make sure everyone understands site rules, understanding the signage, that's another main one, and just make sure everyone has a understanding. And we'll go through, there'll be a little competency test to make sure that everyone has understood and has listened through day one about the signage and site rules. And if you have passed the test, sort of thing, you will go on to day 2, which would then go into your normal site induction, which would go through a form, and it'll go through like health and safety checks, and compound, where you'll be staying, and just basic site induction day. We have also implemented a introduction with the supervisor. So after you've passed that and you've done your normal site induction, you'll be then with the supervisor, and they'll go through what you'll be actually working on and doing, and that'll be more of an induction of the work itself instead of the health and safety side. And we thought it was a good idea to add a sticker indication. So on your hard hat, there will be a color sticker, green for fluent in English, amber for good and then red for poor, obviously translate required. We thought this would be a good idea. So when you're working around the site, you can see why people stickers and makes you, gives everyone a bit more of understanding about each other without even speaking to someone first. You already know how to approach the person. You already know if you want to go speak to someone that has, you know, poor English, you know that you need a translator involved, or just gives everyone a bit of understanding about each other before even actually talking to other people. So obviously we've also implemented, if you haven't got a sticker that class says you haven't done the induction, so the sticker will identify that you've done both days induction and you've got a sticker, and now you're basically come work on the project.
And also as well, we're really trying to push forward that we're not just trying to sign people off and get as many people onto site as possible. This is, it is an induction, but it's more of a classroom environment. So we're not just going to be speaking at people. We want people to get involved, you know, and really know that they are taking in what we're speaking about. And if there is any problems, we're there to sort of teach them and help them learn rather than just turn them away. So we really want to work with the operatives just to make sure that they're going to be as safe as they can for themselves on the site and just have the best possible start. So moving on, we have Byron going into the mental health policy.
Before we move on to the mental health, just also part of the induction process, we did review looking at doing the normal online induction, obviously aware of the low skill workers and obviously the pressure on companies and agencies to get paid. So believe obviously to ensure the actual understanding and avoid any corruption, that the classroom scenario is the best scenario for this one.
Yeah, thank you.
As moving on to mental health. Mental health is also key to our success. There's an old English saying of happy wife, happy life. Our saying is happy site is a safe site. We encourage team building, team games such as football, basketballs. We also encourage to have daily team briefings where we talk about things other than work as well. So we can basically form inner teams, an inner circle of trust, some people may say. It's basically so that everyone feels supported. And then if we feel supported, we can deal with it. All this is detailed in the next few slides. So we can move on, Elliot. So these slides just basically cover our general health and safety policy. This will obviously be issued out as part of the induction process, also on our online portal that Elliot's covered. I'm not going to go into too much of these slides. If we can just move on, it's just ensuring that everyone knows the responsibility to themselves and others and takes care of themselves. Because mental health is as important to anyone as the physical health these days. These are our concrete actions. Obviously, we're going to have sports facilities, entertainment facilities, just so basically you have that time away from your work to relax. Also knowing, obviously, in Saudi Arabia that the workers, the religious element is key. So obviously encourage, obviously we have the local prayer rooms within the main hub, but also trips to the mosque and other religious clergy would be available to support and guide. And also, as Bob's mentioned, to get proper sleep and relaxation, that's why we designed our dormitories to be at least 10k away from the main site so that you can relax and get away. Now, obviously, the banned word for this project is going to be the guitar. Everyone's aware of the number of deaths there. Not quite sure how that actually happened in the modern world, hence why you've encouraged us to come across. Obviously, the main causes there was obviously heat-related fatalities, physical and mental strains, and unfortunately suicide. This is why we've keyed up on the mental health side of our policies, just so that everyone is safe.
If I can add one small thing to the slide, it was a very poorly kept secret that employees who went to Qatar, they got their passports taken off from them, so they couldn't quit. We will make absolutely sure that none of that is happening, and we really hope that we can severely reduce the amounts of suicides, because I think that played a big part in it.
Thank you. Right, so moving on to other considerations, as a collective team, we decided that these are other things we're going to have to bear in mind. We came up with a few of our own ideas, but this will sort of be brought back to the client where, or yourselves, the client, where as moving forward with the project, these are just things we really want to bear in mind and sort of focus on working towards, just to ensure the project goes smoothly. So we've got dust, mountainous areas, and how to overcome these. So we have a few suggestions as to how we want to control this by reducing traffic and the speed, cover the road with gravel and water where necessary, just to ensure that it doesn't dry out too much. Temperature limits during the day, so there'll be a daily review of the work schedule according to the temperatures. Early start, midday long break, and working late will be encouraged to mitigate against this advanced temperature. Light clothing and frequent showers will be encouraged, again, just to ensure that no one's getting overheated or overworked. Then we're thinking about power and water supply provisions due to the far out nature of this project. So we're thinking about mains lines running from the closest city to be considered. So water tankers to be delivered as well, or perhaps just having a water storage and treatment plant where it's coming from the sea and we can then process our own water rather than relying so heavily on nearby cities and sort of taking their supplies. We were bearing that in mind, and also an on-site power factory. So again, we're not taking from another city's electricity or relying on generators, with a healthy mix of solar panels as well, just to continue trying to not leave too much of an impact on after this project, as well as thinking of a concrete plant on site and raw materials, again, to sort of try and reduce heavy truck movement. And again, just try and keep things localized so we're not relying on endless amounts of lorries traveling hundreds and hundreds of miles, you know. So these are just things we thought of bringing forward as suggestions, and we can hopefully work with yourselves, the client, to bring some answers and solutions to these considerations we've made. And finally, we would just like to say thank you from Tony Roy's Legacy Project team. And I'll let someone else say our special thanks.
Yeah, special thanks to Supreme Leader and Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, for initiating this project and us the contract.
Yeah, and of course, giving us the opportunity. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed our presentation. Cheers.
And as is traditional, let's give it a round of applause at that stage. Well done. Almost identical timings, actually, only a few seconds in it. 32 minutes, 22 seconds. Right, could I invite the first question then, please?
I've got a question I'd like to ask. It's just curious. Two questions to be think. Number one, you were talking about the guards will determine the fitness of people when they come in. How is that going to be done? By looking at them? Are they specially trained or
so
fitness to work? What does that mean? What does that mean?
It's less of a physical fitness and more of a complete mental and health well-being coming onto site. So just maybe some general questions. Again, there will be first aider trained as well as mental health professionals, or they'll have that.
So you're gonna have that at the gate when everybody comes in. Someone's gonna be doing this questioning.
Everyone. So just not like an interrogation, but just brief questions, just to establish if they're in the right frame of mind, mentally and physically, to come onto site.
Okay.
The other thing with obviously the facial recognition, obviously you can pick up temperature differences. So if it's one day you're suddenly running a temperature, it knows you may be unwell. So obviously that will then lead to more questions, just to basically make sure that everyone is okay and safe.
Okay, and that leads me to the second thing, the facial recognition of that. I'm just a little bit intrigued as you find out, because if you notice, will you be having women on site?
Yes.
Good point.
Okay, and you do recognize in that country a lot of culturally that women have to cover up their faces so they can't be seen. So how would that work? How would face recognition work with a woman? And secondly, sorry, the second question in line with that is that in the heat and the sunstroke and all that stuff, you'll have hats and face coverings because of dust and all that. Is that going to work with it, or how would you do that to be able to recognize someone?
Yeah, you can just
Sorry, can I answer that question about the face recognition for women? Lately now, because of Vision 2020, by being put in place by Saudi Arabia, they've relaxed the rule. At the moment, in their airport now, we've got a lot of women without any face covering attending to visitors, anybody coming to Saudi Arabia. As at Friday, Saturday, Sunday, when I was there, they've allowed people coming in and they open their space, open their store, open their country for innovation, technology advancement. So women are being allowed. Women are now driving now everywhere now in their supermarket.
No, I'm aware of that. I'm aware. That's not the question. I'm asking is that if a woman comes on site who's religious in her walks and she wants to keep herself covered, how is facial recognition going to notice where she is and where she is when she chooses to keep herself closed? That's just a question I've asked.
Especially as you said, we're going to try to hire, for example, people from locals and people from Saudi Arabia. I'm sure most of the women there still respect that tradition, covering their faces.
Yes. So we have special considerations for that. So it will be, we would never ask or force them if that is their religion. It would be a separate thing with identification.
Facial recognition. Also, it can pick up eye color, even that little slot. It can pick up a lot of details just from foreheads where your headdress would come down. So it does pick up your facial shape even though you're covered. So it's
totally facial recognition actually works on several different factors, and it also encompasses people that wear masks.
Well, since COVID, facial recognition has been approved because strictly on such as iPhone, for instance, you can now unlock your iPhone while wearing a face covering mask. So it has been updated since COVID.
Yeah, so facial recognition takes into account facial coverings. It works on lots of different things like distance between your forehead, your chin, your width of your nose, jawline. It does recognize people with beards or if they shave it off. And it does depth of the eye sockets. So it can work just on eyes alone, facial recognition.
Thanks, Vinny. That's cool. Just interesting. Thank you.
All right, Radu, have you got a question?
I have a question. Security again, facial recognition. What is your backup plan on this? Let's say, because it's not a perfect world, so one day the system may not work. So what is your backup plan for this?
As in not working how?
The internet going down, I assume.
Yeah.
Or just anything, yeah.
Yeah, as I said, there is a plan for use with a app on a smart tablet or an iPhone, which allows manual checks to take place, so you can then identify a person via that route.
Yes, but isn't that time consuming?
Well, it is. Yes,
but time consuming. But if we lose power on site, the site will be shut. Therefore, it gives us time to filter people in while we recover the systems.
Yeah.
And can I just say as well that it will be time consuming, but as we're taking health, safety, well-being as paramount, we're not going to put pressure on the program to get everyone in. It's, like I said, health and safety is the priority. So if there is an unexpected thing that comes up, then we will tackle that first rather than trying to funnel everyone into site. We'll have, and as well with the document control, we'll have hard copies of everything. So again, if in the unlikely nature that something like this does happen, we'll be prepared with hard copies, and it will just be more of a laborious process. But again, we're not going to risk the safety of our guys on site just to get them in. It will be handled first.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
I have two questions, if possible. You said at one point that they're going to work Mondays to Thursdays. That means 4 days of work per week. And don't get me wrong, guys, but I think everybody who comes from a different country, they're not going to want to work just a couple of days. How are you planning to balance it, let's say?
Yeah, there will be other different people working there with different religions that will want to work a 7-day week. That option is just for people that Muslims that have Ramadan and other. religious aspects like that.
Yeah, so we're just trying to have it inclusive for everyone. So like Clive said, there will be the option if you don't have those religious connotations there, and you can work Fridays, but we're there to give the option and just like I said, providing inclusivity for everyone.
Just
Also,
a
you
question,
said
if I may.
regarding the inductions. On the inductions, there is going to be a first induction Monday and the second induction Wednesday. So again, don't get me wrong, guys. Practical way, the guys who are coming from a different country, they're going to lose their first week just to be able to start work.
Yeah. Again, I appreciate that, and it will sort of have implications on the program. But as I said with the previous question, we are taking health and safety as paramount. So we are not going to put anyone on site that we don't feel is fully competent, fully prepared, trained, skilled, and ready themselves to do it. So again, we're not trying to rush the program. We're not trying to rush the lads on site. We're just doing everything we can to ensure that each person is fit and ready to start.
Yeah.
And last one, just as a suggestion, you said happy site equals safe site. I would put it the other way. Safe site, it's a happy site.
It works both ways.
Can I just ask one question? Sorry, just to finish off. I don't want to jump. What is your policy? I didn't understand the policy on using local people and things like that. What is that again? What was your policy on it?
So there was no particular policy specifying that we have to have a set amount of numbers. It's just, again, just trying to promote it to all countries, all nations.
Is that your Saudiization, as he calls it, policy?
Yes, we don't want to, even though the main workforce will be from India, Pakistan, countries like that, we don't want to then exclude Saudi locals. We want to make sure that there's no friction with sort of local groups, local tribes. Like, we want to offer work to them, just so they don't feel like they've been kicked out and then left to the sides. We just want to offer availability to everyone to be able to work there, rather than being behind.
Good one, guys. Well done.
Let's give it a round of applause. Come on. Wow, what great questions, and what two